Welcome. I'm Cynthia Arnold, and at One Earth United, we celebrate the beauty of cultures and traditions in music, dance, and the arts. I am so thrilled to be here today with two very gifted Indigenous leaders in fashion. Both honor their culture and traditions, but push the boundaries to present innovative styles within the fashion industry. Today, we welcome the 2020 International Indigenous Designer of the Year and the only Native designer to have a gown worn on the Oscars. Please welcome Norma Baker Flying Horse, aka Redberry Woman. And next we welcome the Haatepah, who is an up and coming model and activist. Thank you both for being with us today. And of course, speaking of traditions, we just celebrated Thanksgiving in the United States, and I'm wondering, it's a question that often is discussed among Native Americans and indigenous cultures, and I'm wondering if you celebrate Thanksgiving and why not.
Well, for us, it's not necessarily celebrating Thanksgiving. We do gather. We do have a meal with our family. And of course, there's the big turkey, whatnot. So, but the thing for us is not necessarily for the purpose of Thanksgiving that historically we all know about, with the pilgrims and the Indians. It is more just so to come together to give thanks that we're still together, that we're still celebrating another year, and then of course another year ending. So that's for us. That is really what it's been about. It has nothing to do with the reasoning behind I guess, the mainstream culture of it. So for us, it's just making sure that we get together and we enjoy one another's company, that time off, maybe from work and all of that, and that's basically what it is, and it's enjoyable, and it's especially now with COVID happening, it's going to be a little difficult to be with each other, but those families who we are able to be around, it's going to be even more special because this has been a tough year, of course. So that is really what it is for us in my home. So
Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. For me, it's very similar. I typically celebrate this, that day as a day of mourning, but I do get a meal with my family, and we celebrate the fact that we're together, in that time, because so much has happened with our people. It's a day that we celebrate as Indigenous folks. That's pretty much it, to keep the answer short and sweet.
Cynthia, can we hear your Cynthia?
Yes. Yes.
Right there.
I,
Or me.
okay, what I was wondering is, are there other ways that you celebrate the giving of thanks in your culture? Is it through, special events or certain traditions that you share among your family and among your tribe?
I know for us, it's, being thankful. It's not really something that you put on a calendar and that's the day that you're going to celebrate that. Being thankful for us, and especially for myself, I was raised to always be thankful, to always be grateful for the good things that have come in life, and even the trials as well, because those trials are trials that we learn from. And I think as Native Americans, for us, that's a survival mechanism, is to be thankful, because if we keep our mindset that, that there is good, there is something to be grateful for, that helps us to waver through those difficulties and to overcome and to create things that our future generations will be thankful for. So I don't, like I said, it's not a holiday for us. It's an everyday mentality. So to have that thanks up to the creator.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And Haatepah?
Exactly what Norma said. I couldn't have said it any better. Exactly what Norma said.
Thank you. All right. So, Haatepah, I'm curious, how do you use your career as a model to share your platform on your culture, on traditions, social justice issues like the environment and other concerns that you have? Maybe you can share what some of those concerns are and tell us how you use your platform.
I use my platform to bring awareness. Sometimes I create videos, which is a very popular platform called TikTok. A lot of Indigenous people are using that right now. TikTok, Instagram. On social media, I try to voice my opinions, not to speak for everyone, because we're all Indigenous. We have diverse cultures and traditions all across the Americas. And for me, I just like to, tell historical facts and my opinions on certain things. Like I made a video recently about, actually just today, on cowboys and how a lot of people think cowboys are just white people, but in reality, the first cowboys were indigenous folks from here and Mexico, and also African Americans were the first cowboys as well. And I talked about that. I've talked about Thanksgiving, all sorts of topics. But that's one way. And also, environmental issues is very important because, as you guys know, a lot of our cultures are based off our relationship with the earth and working in balance with the earth in, like a balanced equilibrium. I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm just trying to get that message out to the masses. And there's a whole slew of other TikTokers doing the same. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing.
How about how about you, Norma? I know you're pretty outspoken on certain issues, and I'm curious, do you use your platform as well to, I know you help a lot of women in fashion and elsewhere, and so maybe you can elaborate a little bit on how you use fashion and your celebritydom to help others.
I think for me, it really wasn't that. I never thought of myself as an activist.
Mhm.
I know that growing up, I was always taught to try to be the best version of whatever it was I was going to be. So to getting into fashion really wasn't a start of, oh, this is how I'm going to show the world that we're this and that. It just so happened that my beliefs of being strong and trying to move forward and to live in a way that our ancestors would really be proud of. That's something that was always instilled in me, and that I try to do the best I can to remember that. So through my fashions, what really actually transpired was just the representation. And that's a big thing. Like Papa was saying, we're using these social platforms now in ways that no one really thought we would be doing. I've watched Papa's videos, and actually in watching people's videos, I've learned so much about other people and how what their backgrounds are, and what they're passionate about. And so it's really for me, my fashions really represent the fact that we are still here, and that's been my mantra forever, is to remind people that we didn't disappear. And it really does blow my mind to know that there's people out in the world who don't know that Native Americans still exist, that we're still here, we're thriving, we're everywhere. And I think social media, it does help get that voice out there. It does get that representation. So my design work, it's based upon mostly my Dakota Sioux tribal work. And of course, like the shirt that Haatepah is wearing, which, thank you, by the way, you look awesome. Every piece that I do is, done for a particular reason. And I know, for us, war bonnets and the horse are very, very, they're honorable animals to us, and the war bonnet is an honorable symbol. So, and of course, Haatepah being the Indigenous, activist that he is, I wanted that to be represented somewhere in that design work. So, and I do for all of my pieces that there's a meaning behind it all, and culturally, and even with other tribal entities other than Native Americans and Indigenous people, that was the purpose of our garments, of our cultural attire, was to represent who we were and where we came from, and things like that. And it told stories, so for me, being able to incorporate all of that into contemporary wear that you can, everyday wear, it means a lot, because I some way am helping someone to culturally represent themselves, or in some way. So for me, that's my little bit of activism out there, I guess, is to say, hey, we're still here, I'm just letting So yeah, it's been wonderful to see so many people give me so much support, so in that, and so I know that I must be doing something right by telling people this, and through the work that I do. So
It's absolutely beautiful. Your designs are, like I said, you push the edge. You do the traditional, but you bring in the modern look, the couture look, the everyday wear look. And it's just, there are many non-natives, friends of mine, who have asked, can they buy your clothing? Can they buy your gowns? Would you object to them wearing one of your gowns? Maybe
no,
you
no,
elaborate a little bit on that.
to buy from the original artist, and if you're going to buy something of indigenous nature, always try to do it that in a way where it's going to support the indigenous community in which it comes from. If you're not doing that, I really feel that the person you're buying this from is appropriating that art, that culture. And it's so I always encourage those who are non-indigenous, non-native, to try to do a little bit of your homework and find out who it is who are you purchasing from? Are you really supporting an indigenous artist, an indigenous fashion designer? So just do a little bit of homework, and thanks to social media, it shouldn't be too difficult. So I know I'm out there, and there's so many more, like me. And I know I've seen Haatepah, he's done modeling for quite a few people. And he's, and I see on these social media sites when it bothers me, and I know I've seen you, Haatepah, put this out there a couple times, people who are using our designs and trying to sell them, and they're not of our indigenous or native communities, and those profits don't go back to us in any way, shape, or form, not even to a single artist. And so those are some battles that we fight with our artwork and our design work, is to ensure that people are really buying, authentic. So
Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that, Papa? Or
Yeah, part of the struggle about being like a model too, and working with certain companies like Nike, and just certain clothing companies like that, because I didn't find out until after that they've done some things that are pretty scandalous. Like, I was reading in Costa Rica, there's an indigenous tribe that they actually had stolen designs from, and the indigenous tribe was actually suing Nike for stealing those designs. And for me, that's just I don't want to stand by that. And I was about to get a job for Nike a couple months ago, but then I made a post about it, and then they skipped me. But then they eventually asked me to come back, because I think now they're starting to learn that, hey, we can't be doing this. This isn't right. We're taking these people's traditions and making bank and profit out of it.
and,
So that's my point of
doing that. And I admire that you did that, and that's another thing I love watching his posts, is that Haatepah's always been, it doesn't matter if they're gonna give you a paycheck at the end of the day, it's about standing by those principles. And I've seen him do this several times, and I really appreciate that. And thank you so much, on behalf of people who really truly should deserve the credit for those designs work. So it is nice to see that we have our Indigenous models out there that are they themselves educating people, and making sure that they stand by those grounds, those rules. So thank you so much. I just wanted to say that to you, during this interview, because I've watched you do it several times.
Thank you.
Oh, one thing that that maybe we can give advice to also is that if you see, well, Ralph Lauren's notorious for taking designs that are not his, but also if it's something that's for sale in a large department store, chances are it's not Indigenous. Would that be true?
I don't know, because I've never modeled for Ralph Lauren, but wait, can you say the question again? Sorry.
If you see a design in a large department store, a native looking design, is that an alert that maybe it's not a real Indigenous artist that's producing and selling it, but that it's appropriation and someone's taken the design to make money from? I mean, is that, it's just to make, like you said, to make consumers more aware. Like, what should they be checking? Do they look at the label to see who produced it? Is that one way that they can be extra careful when they're out shopping?
Yes, I think, taking a look at the label and just doing research on this particular brand. Like, for instance, I know Nike has the N7, which is geared towards natives. I don't think Ralph Lauren has a brand like something like that. No. Well, I think, one thing that Nike did do somewhat is they created something like N7 for Indigenous people. And I'm pretty sure that they do give credit to the Indigenous folks that do, the designs and things like that.
For some of us, who many people have been denied their own culture, whether their parents didn't want them to celebrate it, didn't want them to encounter, troubles, quote unquote, in growing up. What advice would you give to someone who does want to know their culture and their tradition? How would they go about learning more?
I would say for myself, we actually had that issue among my tribe. I come from the Haatepah tribe of North Dakota, the Dakota Sioux, and then the Assiniboine tribes. And so what had happened was there was a relocation act. Their intent was to mainstream people in Native Americans into basically being white. It but unfortunately it kind of it backfired, because we found we have a lot of people who are half Mexican, and that's because we're tribal people. And of course, the Mexican people, they're tribal as well. Pretty much you can find anyone that's pretty much tribal. They have the same type of tribal process and mentality. So we have a lot of people who are half native and half something else, and they've lived away. The whole Relocation Act was to move these people off of the reservation and into the cities, down in California, places like that. And this didn't happen centuries ago. This happened like yesterday. So we're still, having people come home. And when I say home, it's to our reservation and say, I grew up away from home, and because I was born, my grandparents were part of the Relocation Act. And I just want to know, they're looking for their roots. They're looking for who their families are and things. And it wasn't until I was older when I met a lot of these people, and it just blew my mind, that there's people out there who have never experienced the culture the way that I have, or lived on the reservation. So, and a few of them I've become friends with, and they're wonderful people who, just like me at times, I'm still searching for things. I'm still trying to learn things, and I've been here, so I try to encourage people who are, looking for their culture, who are looking, and I try to encourage them to try to find appropriate educational tools, because um, there's a lot of stuff that's put out there that isn't representational. It's not accurate to be representing who we are, and it just, so it makes it a little bit difficult when they're seeing something that is like, oh, here's Hollywood's version of what you're supposed to be, and then they come home and it's like, we are nothing like that at all, so but I said, I'm still learning myself. I of course am never against teaching anyone what I know, if they want to learn something, and I encourage people to not to be discouraged, and I try to encourage those around who do know something to encourage people. I don't think it's right to shame anybody for not knowing their culture. I think that's probably one of the worst things you can do, because we lose people that way, and we should encourage people as best we can. So I just, that's my advice to people, is to, like, hey, I'm learning too, and I've been here. So don't feel bad. Just, try to do the best you can, and asking questions and whatnot. So yeah, I hope everybody at some point in their life feels like they found who they really have, where they come from and where they belong. So, and I hope that for a lot of people. So.
Papa?
Me? Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna go off what she said. Well, growing up, I was actually adopted as a baby, so I know what that feeling is like, trying to reconnect and understand where you come from. And for me, it's been a struggle and it's been a journey, because when I was adopted at 1 years old, I was adopted by a non-native family. They're both white, and I don't want to throw any shade to them, but they weren't really pushing me or my twin brother to learn or understand or even respect Indigenous culture. And they thought it was something to be not talked about. They thought it was something to be ashamed of, something that's dirty, something that's lesser. Like, these are a bunch of cavemen lost in the woods, was the kind of mentality. And sadly to say, one of them died, the other one is still alive, but is more prejudiced. And I was forced to leave my home because of that, because I didn't feel that acceptance from my own family. And to this day, I've never met my biological mother or father. My biological father had died. My biological mother, she couldn't deal with, letting her children go, and she chose, sadly, substance abuse over her own children. And she didn't really, none of them were really into their own roots. They were into gang life and things like that. It's very sad and it's very common. That trauma is very common. But for me, reclaiming my roots has to do with looking in my reflection as a young boy, and wondering and looking, who were my ancestors and what did they do, and I asked myself those questions because I know I wasn't white, and the whole school system and where I lived was. So instead of being ashamed of these things, I found power in it, and I found community in the Bay Area. I found community all over, honestly, the United States through social media, and I went to ceremonies such as the Sweat Lodge, and I found elders. I joined and worked with the American Indian Movement and the Student Council of Intertribal Nations at San Francisco State University. And I learned from them, and I picked apart my identity, and I understood. And I found out information, of course, from my biological family, because I met some of my aunts and uncles. And I get a lot of messages about this topic from people on my Instagram. They ask me, how can I reconnect with my roots? I don't know. Especially, like, there's a lot of people who are from Mexico, Central and South America, who message me these questions, because I'm half Mexican, like from Mexico, Indigenous. My other tribe is Kumeyaay, which is on both sides of the border, the United States and northern Mexico. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of us have Indigenous roots if you go south. But the thing is, due to colonization, due to caste systems, and basically teaching people to hate who they are, that Indigenous people are at the bottom of the totem pole, and that they need to be, the colonizers are different in Spanish, so the language is different, the culture is different, but it's the same story in south of the border as it is here in the United States and Canada. And yeah, just say, ask your family, try to find out as much as you can, and try to find those communities too. You got to do it in the right way. I'm not going to ever tell someone to just claim Indigenous, without doing the proper research, because there's a lot of information and time that goes into those identities. And you have to learn how to respect yourself and your ancestors before you can just do something like that. But at the same time, like Norma was saying, I think it is problematic to tell people, oh, you're not raised here, you're not from here, you're not included, because that's not how we grow. Because if you unveil that rug of colonization, that veil, all of us are related at some point here in the Americas. We're all connected, we are one. Mitaku ye o yasin, all my relations.
My favorite saying. So thank you. Thank you. Well, Norma, you're definitely gifted, and every fashion designer I've ever known has had extensive training and apprenticeships, and you name it, they've done it, and you're self-taught, which is incredible. And I'm just, I can't refuse, referring to you as, how did you turn your talent into something else in a
Well, there was
positive way?
Yeah, I think for me, just growing up, being taught to bead by my grandmother, and that's always, at the time I kind of fought it a little bit because it was hard out being a young girl and sitting and beading for hours, and you want to go play and you want to go do this and that. But I'm glad that I had mother and a grandmother who were real strict about making me learn these things. And at the time, I never really understood what the big deal was. And now looking at it, it's because they were giving me a gift and they were making sure that I understood and knew how to do these things to pass them on and to continue on with them. Those skills that I was given by my mother and grandmother, and my mother too. She's not a trained seamstress. She just made it work. And she made our dance outfits, and you could have told, I think anyone that's seen her sewing would have believed that she went to fashion school, but she was so passionate about it. And then me growing older, and then of course I started wanting my dresses to look a certain way. And then she said, well, if you want to do that, you better learn how to sew them all yourself. And so of course I did. So my work started in the cultural background, in my garments when I dance, when my family dances. We actually would make each other's outfits growing up. So just having that background and then loving fashion so much, I loved fashion. I was the little, the girl who bought the little toy purses and toy high heels, and I loved it. And so it just one day clicked when I had somebody who was Miss Indian World ask me, can you make me a garment I can wear when I present? And to me, it was important that she still represented who she was, whether it be like with, her beadwork or whatnot. So I did create a dress, and then the dress became, I needed more to it. And so I started the applique work, which you'll see on Haatepah's shirt, and a ledger work. I started putting into the ledger work, and she wore it and social media, like, blew up for me. People were contacting me, can you put this on a shirt? Can you do this and this? And the next thing you know, I'm making shirts for, the gentlemen who are presenting at, different events, whether it be politically or, just, in the entertainment field. Um, it just went without me. I had to catch up to it. So, and now you see, and I'm not, it's not a new thing. I mean, there's been designers who have done this design work forever, and they've done, native fashion is what I always heard it called. And, so it's not a new thing. I think what's new about it is the technique that you put into it. So I try to, be very, to representational of my tribes. I don't like to use other people's tribal work unless I am commissioned by somebody who says, I'm from this background, I have this background, and so I try to do my homework a little bit on that and put something of them into that shirt. Even if they don't have a tribal background, I'd like to know something about them. What's the event they're going to be doing? And then, hopefully design something that's Red Berry Woman that represents them as well. I try to do that and honor people in that way. So I wish I would have gone to fashion school, because who knows how far I would have went. When I made it as far as the taping for the Project Runway. I was asked to come in and be part of that, and I made it through all the auditions. And I get to the very last audition, and one of the judges is like, "You didn't get taught how to sew, did you? You taught yourself," because he could tell, and he's a professional. So, and I had gotten that far before someone had asked me, like where I went to school, and I haven't. So, I'm still I'm still learning. I learn every day. I learn something new. Thank God for YouTube. I mean, if it wasn't for YouTube, I probably wouldn't know a whole heck of a lot of contemporary sewing and all of that commercial sewing. So I'm still learning every day about this, and it's crazy because as I'm learning, my business is going without me. So I'm trying to catch up. And I say I'm always trying to catch up to my blessings, because man, my native people, my indigenous followers, they have blessed me so many times over, and I cannot say enough that I would not be Red Berry Woman without all these people. Definitely not. And I love that they let me be a part of their event. I love that I see a little bit of my work, with them. So I get to take a little piece of that. So yeah, that's kind of where it all comes from. It's just motivation, and it's just one of those things like, it would look really cool. So a lot of that. But other than that, I like I said, every day is a learning experience for me when it comes to my work. So
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, are you planning a new line? Maybe perhaps clothing, like daily wear clothing?
yeah, we actually I'm doing a ready to wear line. I'm starting to work on that. I've never been a ready to wear designer. But because of the overwhelming response to people with my Instagram and with all my social outlets, I've just been asked over and over and over. And so we're going to do that. And so again, it's a learning event for me. I'm not, this isn't coming second nature. And so I'm hoping this spring to get a ready to wear line launched, both for women and men, and then also to do it in honor of my daughter who passed away 5 months ago. So I'm hoping to, get that going, and we're gonna have to get Haatepah up here to model some pieces in the spring. Hopefully, we're getting over COVID. So, but yeah, so that, I mean, that we're hoping to get that. Of course, my couture line. And, the show we had planned, Haatepah was supposed to join us for that. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it didn't happen. But we are going to still plan to make that happen, and I'm pretty excited because it's, we're getting a brand new interpretive center here, and it's gorgeous. It's got a Native American museum in it, and it overlooks all of our beauty and wonder here on our reservation. So I'm excited to have that couture line be shown, when we get that rescheduled, and I'm just excited to have Haatepah come here and join us and model for us, and it's, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and especially after everybody's been kind of battling this COVID and trying to figure out how to work around it and whatnot. So while we're doing that, I'm still diligently working on pieces and getting things out there. So I'm looking forward to definitely the new year. I think a lot of people are. Oh, we can't hear you there, Cynthia.
Oh, sorry. What goals do each of you have beyond modeling and fashion design, or part of fashion design and extending? Norma, you can go first.
Um, Beyond that, I don't think I really have a whole lot of goals beyond just creating the pieces that I have and trying to continue to get things out there and keep continuing to learn how to do new things and like I said, this business has come and it's just taken off for me, and it's it's been wonderful. And so I just, when I think that I've reached everything I can, something else comes along. This 2020, I'll be honest with you, I losing a daughter and then going through COVID, it's been the most trying year of my life. And I promised my daughter I would keep moving forward before she passed away. That was my promise to her, is that I wouldn't let this overcome. I wouldn't be succumbed by this year. So and just when I thought, okay, I don't know what's going to happen next, I met Haatepah, and getting to see him and follow him, it motivates me so much to watch his social outlets, and the work he's doing. And then, of course, I have these models who they reach out to me and they push me. Native Ruckus, our young ladies here from the MHA Nation, they're just the sweetest girls ever. They reached out to me not too long after my daughter had passed, and we're like, what are we doing now? So and it's you have these young people who look to you, and I think it's these young people who have reached out to me and who have said, I'm waiting to see you do this, and I'm not trying to push you, but come on, get out here. So and I feel like all of that is, and then winning the International Designer of the Year, I feel like all of that is my daughter's spirit just pushing me forward and bringing people into my life this year. So it's been phenomenal, and it's also been the hardest year. I don't even know how else to describe it. So I guess for me, it's like, I'm not really, my traditional belief is not to plan too far ahead. I've always been taught that. With my grandmother taught me that, because it'll never work out. She always says that. Don't plan too far ahead. It won't work out. And I live by that a lot of times, so here we are this week. We'll see what happens next. So
Thank you, Haatepah.
Beyond modeling, I'm starting to venture into acting, and I have some projects that I'm going to be working on. I can't talk about it, but I'm going to be working on them. And beyond that, I'm going to be traveling in January to Colombia, because I'm going to be working with an indigenous tribe there called the Arhuaco people. And I'm trying to see if there's like some way we can help each other out. I'm going to help them with a documentary about their religion and their spirituality and what they believe. Because I really want to bridge the gap between northern natives and southern natives in Brazil. Like, I don't know if you know what's going on in the Amazon, and it's, it mirrors they mirror each other. Our struggles mirror each other, and I want to really much so help them, and they can help us, and etc.
So how can we help you help them? Or, keep that in mind. If it's fundraising, if it's writing letters, whatever, do please keep us in mind.
Definitely.
We can help, and I'm sure the viewers can help.
I have a friend. I can send you his information. His name's Huey Kami. He's from the Arhuaco tribe, and it's deep in Sierra Madre. No, Santa Marta de Sierra Madre. I think that's what it is. Sierra Madre. But it's really cool. It's interesting. I have a lot to learn about them, and I'm going to share my journey, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. So do either of you have anything else that you would like to end with, share with the viewers and young people? And you've done a great job so far, so thank you.
I guess the only last thing, I know we covered quite a bit, and it's just that I'd like to encourage so many people to, I think as Indigenous and Native people, we are so talented, and there's so many people out there who don't realize that their work is appreciated, and it's so beautiful. And I know I like to take time to go through people's social media, kind of I stalk people. So just keep it up. I love seeing all of the beautiful beadwork, sewing. I just love it, and I want to encourage our people, and even, and for me, it's the fashion world, and I know even in other aspects, you know, the education is so important. You know, education is so important, and I'm so proud of people who are getting out there, getting their degrees, getting into these fields, and becoming the voice for so many of us. And so, yeah, I just want to encourage everybody to keep on a good path. I know COVID's been tough, and I know, you know, we've lost so many people, and you know, my heart is going out to everybody who's grieving and who's suffering right now. This is horrible, and those who are trying to just make it through. You know, just know that we're all there. You know, it's not all bad in the world. There are people that are still praying and looking forward to the future. So yeah, so stay safe, wear your masks, you know, and be good to one another. That's all I can really tell people to do.
Papa?
I'd say don't be afraid to be proud of who you are. Reclaim your power. You know, it's all good. Your ancestors are watching you, and your ancestors are always with you. Regardless if you know them in depth or not, just, you know, they're always there. You know, pray if you have to, whenever religion, spiritual sense you know or feel comfortable with. And that's it. Keep your head up.
Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your talent. Thank you.